Okay, so I have 1 o'clock. Do you have 1 o'clock?
I think we're good.
All right, sounds good. We'll honor everybody who's on time. So I want to thank everybody that's on the call today for taking your time to attend this webinar. My name is Steve Chater, and I'm a contributor to the trilogy of best-selling books on real estate investing. And you can see a picture of them up on the screen. I'm also a co-author of the book Hold, which actually became a national bestseller. And if you don't have a copy of the book, you can get one on Amazon. They're readily available. We're really proud that we've got a 4.5-star rating on the book. But I'm not here to sell you the book. I want you to know that I'm here as a real estate investor, and I have worked with investors now for over 35 years. And our purpose today is I'm really pleased to share with you some of the exciting facts about the Phoenix real estate market. So whenever we do these webinars, and we've been doing them regularly, our purpose is to help you maximize your real estate investment. And we know, when you're not right there paying attention daily and seeing what's going on, that's what we do, but not everybody has that opportunity. In fact, not everybody lives here. So sometimes the big picture can get lost. And we also believe that the ownership of real estate is actually the foundation for building wealth. Our country was founded on that principle. Our middle class was created by that principle, that each one of us could own land. Probably all heard the story of Ray Kroc. And Ray Kroc is the guy who started McDonald's. And someone asked him about being in the hamburger business one time, and he said, "I'm not in the hamburger business. I'm in the real estate business. The hamburgers just pay for the real estate." So our point here is empowerment, because if you know what's happening, then you'll know how to respond. And our market has shifted. So our market has been very, very favorable for real estate investors who purchased homes when the bottom fell out of the market. And we're talking in 2005, 2006, 2000, all the way to 2008, and you'll see that in a minute. The prices have risen, and many of those investors have substantial equity right now. And these are the people we say they own their investment property on purpose. That means they intended to rent it out when they bought it. There's other people that own investment property by accident. And that means that they bought that property to live in, and then when they chose to move, the market was such that that they had to rent the property, or they chose to rent the property rather than try to sell it. But either way, they became real estate investors, and it's important with any investment to know how to maximize the ROI, or the return on that investment. And so our goal today, once again, is to provide an overview of where we've been here in Phoenix, and then where we're going, so you'll know how to maximize your opportunities. So let me share this first chart with you, and this chart shows the percentage of homes that were actually purchased with cash. People did not use financing. And it clearly shows that back in here, 2004, 2005, 2006, all the way to 2008, about 1 in 10 were sold all cash. And then you can see that after that point, we had lots and lots of cash sales. And you're going to see why that's important, because this is a complicated chart, but it shows you the same thing. The number of sales in Phoenix were really, really strong in 2009. See between the two red lines here? In 2009 to the first part of 2010, because the Wall Street investors came in and they were buying properties in this area here and then paying all cash for it. And during that period of time, we had multiple offers on homes. If a property went up on the market, it was not unusual to see as many as 15 to 25 offers to purchase that home. But because they paid cash, they didn't have to worry about having an appraisal, so our prices started to climb. Now notice this red star over here. That's in 2014. And you can see here that demand for homes was actually declining from 2012 to 2013, and that kept our prices relatively stable. But right here, where we are right now in 2015, the prices, or the actual number of sales, started to go up. And this creates the beginning of a seller's market. And as we know, the seller's market is where prices increase. And the investors that decided to hold on right now, they're very happy that they did. I'm going to show you another quick chart here. And this is the Crownford Index. And so on the Crownford Index, up here in this part of the index, this is where the market favors the seller. Down here below this line is where the market favors the buyer. So let me add to that now. And this is the Crownford Index. This black line here shows where the market favors the seller. Then look at what happened to price appreciation, because property values and sales start going up right after the Crownford Index goes up. And in the same way down here, when the index goes down, then the appreciation rate on the properties declines when that goes down. But look at what's happening in 2015. Starting last year, we started to see the Crownford Index go up. And so what does this mean to you? Quite frankly, it means that the market now is poised to increase even further, and it's building your equity at the same time that the tenant is paying down your loan. It's a great time to be a real estate investor. So I want to stop just for a second, and because I've shared charts and lots of information. Any questions so far? Okay, no questions. Let's keep moving. All right, so here's another way to look at it. Okay, this chart shows our average sales price per square foot. And what do we see? 2015, we're seeing the property values start to go up again. Okay, was there a question? Let's take a look at our median sales price. So our median sales price right now is $205,000. We're only, and my point here is, we're not in a bubble. We're only 83% to where we were at the peak. In addition to that, those are affordable prices. Holy mackerel, people can afford to buy properties in that price range. And so most people know that Phoenix is actually one of the most affordable major metropolitan areas in the country. Now, here's the other thing that's coming on, and I'm going to share this statistic. From May 2014 to May of this year, so May of last year to May of this year, we have seen an almost 12% increase in the demand for properties, but at the same time, the supply of homes has gone down by 20%. So the demand is up, the supply is down, and that's why we see this price increase going up here. I told you I've been doing this for over 35 years. Quite frankly, I've never seen a time in my career where demand was going up and the inventory was going down. Normally, the inventory goes up to meet the demand. So what does all that mean? Well, it means that the tenants are staying put and they're not buying houses. It also means that the newcomers to the Phoenix area, they're renting first, they're not buying. And once again, this is great news for the landlord. So a couple of things on it. Okay, somebody's got some noise in the background. If you could just mute your phone. So just this past year, Phoenix passed Philadelphia to become the 5th largest city. And interestingly, we're projected to add almost 100,000 people a year. If we could get someone to mute their phone. That's me. That's echo. Okay. All right. So I'll just keep going. So Phoenix is projected to add about 100,000 in population each year. Think about that. That's a new small city every year. And people moving into town, they're generally renting instead of buying, and they'll do that for at least a year or two. So let's take a look at a couple of quick numbers. According to University of Arizona, here's their population projected increase. Now look at this number. See this where it says 1.5%? Let me go back to the other slide. We actually grew at 2.7. So we're growing faster than the projection, and they're projecting 90,000 people a year. It's a great time to be a real estate investor. What this tip slide shows us is here's the number of new homes that were constructed 2004, 2005. For the last 7 years, we have not built enough homes to accommodate the population growth. And so that, once again, means that demand, there's a lot of pent-up demand waiting to buy. So what's happening in the rental market right now? Look at this, June 2015, June 2014. In June 2015, the average asking rent was almost $2,000 a month. For the same properties in the same area last year, it was $1,776. Now what we're seeing is lots of properties that are remodeled and refurbished are getting higher rent. Here's the other thing, the supply is down. So in June 2015, across the whole Phoenix area for single-family homes, for active long-term rental properties, there was just under 3,300 homes. That's down 24%. And so many of the owners, they bailed out, and their property values went up high enough. So the rental market, the supply is down, the demand is strong, and it's continuing strong. So our rental market is continuing to do well. Just interestingly, April is always the tightest month for rental supply. So if you have a property that's coming available in April, that's when the least number of supply is, and actually the highest average asking rents are in April. Here's the reason why. There's still people that lost their property for the past 7 years to a short sale or a foreclosure, and they're ineligible for financing. And so they got great credit, and they usually have cash, but they can't qualify to get a loan, which means we have great pool of renters out there for rental properties. And right now, the investors are moving back into the Phoenix market, but it's not the Wall Street investors. It's the people that are coming into this market because they've looked at the stock market. And here's the Dow Jones Industrial Average over the past year. And you can see that in 2014, the Dow Jones Industrial Average came up, but in 2015, we've been running pretty flat. So what's happening is people are looking to where am I going to get a good return on my investment? Where should I put my money? And it's amazing how many people are using now their 401k. Their 401k, which they thought you could only buy stock in, now you can buy rental property and you can own rental property in your 401k. And they're doing it because they're concerned that the stock market's just not going to give them the same return on their invested money. I want to share something with you, real estate, okay? I want to tell you this is a good investment, but let's say you buy a house today for $100,000 and you put 20% down. Let's say you hold this property for 20 years and you have a break-even cash flow, so the tenant's paying the cost of ownership and it's paying your mortgage payment for you. And 20 years later, you sell the property for the price you paid, $100,000. No appreciation on that property for 20 years. You know what the return on investment is? Over 8% per year. Now, most people would love to get that out of the stock market, and that's 8% per year, even with no appreciation for 20 years. Does anybody really think that over a 20-year period of time, there would be no positive cash flow? That over a 20-year period of time, there would be no appreciation of the property? I'm going to tell you, this is why even my children own real estate. Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport, it's expanding. The East Valley is doing extremely well. It's exciting to see the growth with ASU's campus out there and the colleges that have moved into the East Valley area. So it's just a great time for investing in real estate in Phoenix. So to recap, number one, our rental market is really, really strong, and it's poised to favor landlords. Number two, our Phoenix area is growing, and it's growing at the rate of one small city every year. Our prices have already increased, but they are poised to continue to increase. And as I showed you before, property appreciation follows that Crownford Index as it goes up. So your real estate investment makes even more sense now than ever. So I said we talk about maximizing the opportunities. Let me just stop again and see if there's any questions. All right, so we'll move on. So the first question is, so what are my options? What should I do? I've got a rental property, and congratulations to you. And the first option is you can sell the property. And right now we know of many who became rental property investors because the market forced them to do it. And over this past year, we've watched them bail out because the values came back. And right now it's obvious that they got out too soon and they left big money on the table. On the other side of the coin, we've seen many investors today who are implementing the hold strategy, and they're actually purchasing properties from the people that are bailing out, and they're acquiring greater investments and adding to their portfolio. In fact, on our website, we have properties that are available right now. They are tenant occupied. The tenant is in place. We've got a great rent history. We've got all of the information about them. They're not on the MLS. They're available to investor buyers because the owner does not want to disturb the tenant that's in the property. So what are other options do you have? Number one, the Phoenix market has matured, and now the newer homes, they're different from the older ones. They have different colors, they have different fixtures, the floor plans are different, and many of them are far more energy efficient. On the other hand, the older properties, they have the advantage of being located closer into where people work. And most renters desire the short commute time. In fact, we know that people will drive farther out to own a property than they will to rent one. So there's some advantage to these older properties. The investors now are going in and they're updating the homes. And that's one of the reasons we saw earlier that they're getting more rent because they're making them look newer and prettier. Now, the thing is, if you want to look at this, we'll help you analyze your payback period and your total return on investment so you can see, does this make sense for me? Because you're not going to do it unless the return on investment is worth it. Here's an actual example, and this is a property that just about 6 months ago, the current rent on it was $1,500. We decided what we were going to do is go in and refurbish it. And so the investor chose to remodel the kitchen and the bath, repaint the house, and recarpet. Total cost of the whole thing was $22,000. Now, after doing that, the potential rent for the property was $1,800. So we go from $1,500 to $1,800 a month. That's $300 in increased rent. And we also looked at it and said, look, if this is clean, bright, new, shiny, and all of that kind of stuff, we ought to be able to have a decreased vacancy factor. Here's the thing. The property value, if he'd have chose to sell it in the condition that it was $225,000. But after putting in the $22,000, now the property value is at $275,000. So if you look at the return on investment, the $22,000 that was put in, that's 120% return on the increased value of the property. And it's also a 16% return on increased rent. So in other words, if I put in this money and I'm receiving more rent back, I'm getting a 16% return on my money. It just totally makes sense. So that's one of the options that's available to us. Another one is that the IRS allows real estate investors to sell one property and then acquire 1, 2, or 3 more without having to pay tax on the money you make. So if you've ever played Monopoly, you know that's how you win the game. You buy the houses, you rent them out, and then you do a 1031 exchange into a hotel. Let me show an example that we had from last year, or actually it's early this year. We have a client who had an older property, and he sold his older investment that, quite frankly, needed some remodeling and fixing up, and his tenant actually purchased the home. So we put that transaction together, and he used a 1031 exchange so he didn't have to pay any taxes on the money that he made. And he used the proceeds to purchase 2 newer homes. Now, it totally made sense because the price on the older homes, when the market went down, actually dropped further than the newer homes. number one. Number two, when the market recovered, the older properties recover less of their original value than the newer ones did. So the new property actually appreciated at an 8.4% faster rate than the older one did, and the new properties actually rent out for more. His return on investment, 14%. That's what we're projecting with it. And now with the increased prices going on, because we didn't project those in, it's going to go even higher. No, the wonderful thing is you can do it too. And what happens is you increase your wealth, you increase your net worth even faster. So I ask myself the question, what does the future hold? Is it retirement? Is it saving for college? Is it freedom from having to work every day? What kind of return on investment do you expect from your investments in the stock market? 8%, 10%, 12%? We're talking about 14, 16, 20. We're talking about significantly different numbers in the real estate market. So let's wrap this up. We know that the future looks really good when you hold on to the property, and if your goal is to obtain financial independence, being an investor in the Phoenix market, it's just a smart way to go. It's a great time to acquire more. The prices are good. You can still benefit from the low interest rates. And you don't have to get rid of what you've got. You can take the equity in what you've got, use the 1031 exchange, and move it forward. We believe in this. We live it. We wrote the national best-selling book on it. And I applaud you for being a rental property investor. So, any questions? No questions. I was obviously very thorough. Well, I want to thank you for taking your time. Is there a question? Okay, I want to thank you for taking your time. Okay, fire away.
I saw yesterday, actually in the news, that Blackstone in the Atlanta market announced that they're going to start selling some of the properties that they acquired in the downturn.
Yes.
Do you anticipate those types of sales coming into the Phoenix market? And when they do, ultimately they will at some point. When they do, what do you think is going to happen to the market?
A couple things with that. The Wall Street investors came in here and purchased approximately 20,000 properties last I saw. We sell almost 100,000 properties a year in the current market. So if they came in and started putting their homes on the market, they're not likely to dump them in all at once. And even if they did, they only would represent an increase of 20%. If those properties were bought up, I don't think it's going to have a significant impact. Second thought, I believe that Blackstone will be putting together a program for their renters to buy their properties. And so I also believe, so for example, I don't know if Blackstone did it, but some of them, they bundled these rental properties together and they sold bonds against they'd take 1,500 rental properties that are free and clear, generating X amount of income. They sold bonds against that income. So I believe that what will wind up happening is if they create mortgage paper against that income, they'll be doing similar to what Fannie Mae did. The third thought that I have on it is that what we've heard here and is that they have said in the Phoenix Business Journal that their intention is to hold for a 7 to 10 year period of time. So I think their exit strategy looks like a 1 to 3 year period exit strategy rather than just putting it all in. So I don't expect them to have a significant, if they would have a significant impact if our population was not growing. But because our population is growing and the demand increase, I don't see it as a big deal. You want to follow up on that?
That was a good answer. Thank you very much.
Okay, you bet. Any other questions? All right, well, I want to thank you for taking your time. I hope the webinar was helpful for you. We'll be posting it up on our website. We have investment opportunities available for doing 1031 exchanges. And also, if somebody wants to take a look and say, here's what I have, what would it cost me to do a remodel? What would the return on investment be? Is this money well spent? We'll be glad to help you with that as well. So I appreciate your time this afternoon. We're almost at 30 minutes on the webinar. And so thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.